Welcome to another episode of Future Award-winning podcast. Let me tell you something. I am your host, Deldrian. It has been a day. It has been an ordeal, a trial, some tribulation, but I am here because I was going to cancel on y'all again, but I decided not to because we are going to be consistent here at Let Me Tell You Something. So, have y'all been? There is a lot going on. So, by the time y'all see this, it'll be long past, but apparently the rapture was supposed to come, and yet I am still here. So, do with that information with what you will, because I don't know what that means. And apparently y'all still here too, because y'all are watching me. Also, I don't know why people was even playing into the rapture coming, but child, the way things is looking, we may need to be raptured. Anywho, so let's get into today's topic. If you've listened to this podcast, which if you haven't, why aren't you? I've talked about family relationships quite often in several different episodes. As recently as You Need to Cut, I talked about family. So this episode is all about me familia, family, a family affair. Shout out to Mary J. Blige. So, what can I say about family? Family is everything. Family is one of the most important cornerstones of life. But family can also be trifling, aggravating, raggedy, and get on your nerves. So we're going to talk about all the complexities of family on today's episode. So my family, on my dad's side, my dad is one of 9 siblings. I believe he is number 7. Yeah, he's 7 of 9. My grandmother had 8 boys and 1 girl. Could you imagine? Boy after boy after boy after boy. And then finally, you're like, you know what? Get off me. We're not going to have no more children. And then, boom, girl. Okay, we can have. So, and then on my mom's side, my mom is an only child. So I really have 2 very different experiences with my parents in terms of like my dad coming from a very big family of brothers and sisters, sister, and my mom being only child. And then I have an older brother. My dad has another son, but my brother is about, I think, 12 years older than me, and we didn't grow up together. So for all intents and purposes, I was raised as an only child. So I, growing up, used to want a sibling closer to my age. I had cousins that had siblings, and I used to really want a sibling. And so when you spend a lot of time by yourself, you just grow content with your cousins. So my cousins were my first friends. I used to always play with them. And I have my mom has a big family, although the family ties are a little less defined because she doesn't have any siblings. So I just call them all people my cousin, but they relate to me some kind of way. So I have a big family and so many people that I grew up with, that I hung out with. So I had a real strong family foundation, and I'm very close with my parents. My parents are my best friends. So, but I understand that not everyone has that experience. So when it comes to your family, one of the things I really want to touch upon is family trauma, and more specifically, parent-child trauma. I have said this time and time again. I feel like parents do not see their children as actual people. Parents sometimes see their children as, we're really property, as like, you're my child, so therefore you do what I say, this is my house, yada, yada, yada. And I don't have any children, but I would think that when I do, or if I decide to have children, I'm still on the fence about that I would see my child not necessarily as my equal because you are still a child, but as a person, and give my child the opportunity to have their voice at least considered before I veto it. Because children also be wilding. And children, you can't let children eat ice cream before bed and all that wild stuff children want to do. So I feel like for me, you should give your child the space to figure out who they are. Try different things. And most of the time, when in heteronormative ways, boys play sports and girls play with dolls. And people are very rigid with that, especially here in the South. And I just feel like, the more leeway you give children to kind of figure out who they want to be, I feel like the more well-rounded adult you are going to create, because there is nothing worse than having a parent that always smacks down anything you bring to them. And I feel like Parents are always wondering why children don't come to them. But have you ever thought, parents, that maybe the children don't come to y'all because you don't foster an environment that makes them feel comfortable? I know for me, my daddy would always tell me to tell the truth. Well, sir, maybe I would tell the truth more if you didn't make me scared of your reaction. Because my daddy, God bless his soul, I love my daddy. But my daddy sometimes don't take news the best. And sometimes, you know, my mama, case in point, my first trip to Vegas, the flight, I was there with somebody and we missed our flight. And it was not my fault. Spirit is trifling. PSA, don't fly Spirit. Unless you want to go somewhere and you just dying to be somewhere, fly Spirit. Otherwise, don't fly. It ain't worth it. Seat uncomfortable, they nickel and dime you, they raggedy. Yes, this is not an ad. Don't fly Spirit. So the flight was gone. And I told my dad that he was like, oh, do you have your bag? And I was like, yeah, I do. Now, did I have the bag, class? I did not. But did I also need my dad in my ear screaming and hollering, asking me a million questions? No, I did not. Now, if my dad had took news better, maybe I would have felt better to tell him. I did tell him later on down the line. But at that time, he was on a need-to-know basis, and he didn't need to know because I was already stressed out enough. And so I feel like in my experience, I haven't always felt comfortable sharing things with my parents. And I feel like a lot of kids feel that way. Their parents, kids who would tell their parents, oh, I'm depressed. And the response is, you need to go to press these dishes. And it's like, people be depressed. It's finna be cold. Well, is it though? Because global warming is a thing and it's hot. I got if y'all can see, I got my fan right here. Go and get you one. This is also not an ad, but I got it at Walmart. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, about, what was I saying? I love train of thought. See, that's what I get for being all over the place. Oh, yeah, I remember. So, wait, no, I don't. What's going on? I'm lost. See, this is what, but wait, it's going to come to me. We're going to bring this train back around.
Bag. You did tell your daddy about the bag.
Well, no, I got past to tell my daddy about the bag.
Because, and maybe kids will tell their parents.
Stuff because environment. Okay, that thought is gone. I don't know where I was going with that. But what I do know is I was saying that I love my dad and I love my parents, but sometimes, parents be doing a lot. See, that's what I get for trying to promote that fact, because now I lost my whole train of thought. So let's go into another thought. Parents not listening to their kids and giving their kids space to form their own identities. We need to do better about that. Parents, it is okay to give your children a little leeway in letting your kids form their own identities and talk to your kids, not at your kids. I really cannot believe that I lost a train of thought. That's terrible. It's going to come back to me. Tonight when I'm laying in bed, it's going to come back. and then y'all going to be gone. But it's okay. So, yes, give your kids time to foster who they want to be. And I know for me personally, I would have saved myself a lot of heartache in a lot of situations if I had been given the space to really develop who I was. And maybe I wouldn't have had stunted emotional development and feel very insecure and out of place and out of my body 95% of the time. But we are working on that. And part of doing that is this podcast. So we are trying to bring this back. Parents not seeing their kids as people. And I have a good relationship with my parents, which I've said many times on this podcast. But not everybody has that experience. And so when I hear people talk about not having a good relationship with their parents, I have to be proactive in countering the idea of, oh, why aren't you talking to your dad? And your mom. Some people have toxic family dynamics. Sometimes your family can be suffocating, can be toxic, can be the bane of your existence. And in those instances, like I talked about in cutting off, you have to create boundaries and protect your peace. But I do feel like for instance, for absent parents, there is no, parents who will never dare love to say, well, I did X, Y, and Z. It's okay. Being a parent is hard. And sometimes people are operating with the tools that they were given, and sometimes the toolbox was looking a little scarce. So they're doing the best they can. But that's not an excuse to be a terrible parent. It is not an excuse. The difference between excuse and explanation. Excuse is, I did X, Y, and Z, so therefore you should negate how that impacted you. Explanation is, I did this. It doesn't excuse this, but this is where I was coming from. So parents are operating on what they know, and sometimes parents fall short. But what I want parents to understand is your kids don't want you to be humiliated. What your kids want is to be heard, and being heard has no age limit. I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. If you are a parent and your child comes to you and talks about how their upbringing hurt them, and your response may be, well, you had a roof over your head, don't negate how they feel. Because I'm sure at one point in your life, you had feelings too, and you wanted to be heard by your parent, and they didn't hear you. And what are you doing? Carrying on cycles, generational curses. And we need to break that. And we're going to take a break while I try to find that thought. We'll be right back with more of Let Me Tell You Something. Hi, if you've enjoyed what you've heard so far, let's keep this party rolling over across social media platforms. Follow the Let Me Tell You Something Instagram account, Let Me Tell You Something, LEMMETELL, the letter USUMPHING. Follow me over on TikTok at Deldrian, DELDRIAN AUTRY, or on X at Latristan1, LATRISTAN1. Now let's get back to more of Let Me Tell You Something. And we are back with more of Let Me Tell You Something. So when I'm talking about parents in a relationship, so I don't know if any of my viewers, because we're on YouTube now, and also listeners, watch Basketball Wives. I have been a Basketball Wives watcher since its premiere in 2010. And if you watch Basketball Wives, the original in Miami, but I'm really going to be representing Basketball Wives LA, which started, I believe, in 2011. If you remember Jackie Christie, the GOAT, Jackie Marie Christie, Doug Christie's wife. So I believe Jackie has two daughters, Chantel and Takari, and she has a son, Dougie Jr. And on the show, way back in the day, like maybe 10 years ago, Takari and Chantel came on the show and spoke about their upbringing, how basically Jackie was a questionable mother and the experiences, and they did a family therapy session. And like I said, they talked about the experience. Jackie shut them down like parents tend to do and said, you had a roof over your head, what you complaining for, yada, yada, yada. So this past season, Jackie's daughter Chantel is on this show with Jackie. Jackie's other daughter Takari is not on the show anymore. She wrote a book about Jackie. There was a whole ordeal. If you know, I'm not getting into that. So Chantel and Jackie went through the whole season going back and forth. And Chantel was calling her mama everything but a child of God. It ultimately ended in them getting into a physical altercation. Chantel and her mama were arguing. Jackie kept walking away. Finally, they tried to talk. Chantel leaves. She comes back. Jackie tells her to get out of her room. She pushed Jackie. Jackie's swinging on Chantel. It's a meme. It's etched in history. And what I want to say about that is, I do not doubt Chantel's experience with her mother, because I have heard enough stories to know that, especially in mother-daughter relationships, that sometimes some of the buttermilk don't be clean with mamas and daughters. But what I do know is, and what I've always said is, you cannot demand respect, but then not give respect. And Chantel may have felt violated by her mother, but that does not give you the right to then violate your mother on television. If you felt that your mother was not a good mother, that platform was not the right platform to air that out. And while I do think that what you were saying is correct, and I do wish that Jackie would have gave you a little something more, how can you... I ask people, when you have an issue with somebody, you have to ask yourself, do I want resolution or do I just want to be mad? And I find that a lot of times, people just want to be mad. And in Chantel's case, she just wanted to be mad. Because you know who your mother is. And you knew what your mother was not going to give you what you needed. And so you wanted to be mad. And that's fine. You can be mad. But I just feel like it is counterproductive to say you want resolution, but yet at every turn, you come with opposition. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I feel like parents don't hear their children, but I also sometimes think children don't hear their parents. And I know we live in a time where nobody does nothing wrong. Who cares about forgiveness? Who cares about grace? No one ever needs any grace. If you do anything, you're Osama bin Laden. Evil, wicked, deplorable. But guess what? That's not realistic to life. Sometimes you need a little grace. And sometimes your parents need a little grace. Because like I said, the toolbox was scarce. Now I'm not saying you should let them off the hook. I'm not saying that at all. Because sometimes parents be raggedy. And you try to get them a little grace and they're still raggedy. Sometimes parents be absentee. You try to tell them about your feelings and they're still absentee. Sometimes your parents are who they are and they can't be what you want them to be. And I know I had to make peace with the fact that my parents are who they are. And I have to decide how I want them to show up in my life. And I want my parents in my life. And if you decide you do not want your parents in your life, that is perfectly fine. But if you have a parent who is at least trying to meet you halfway and is trying to come to the table and is trying to at least have a conversation, a dialogue, give them a little grace, give them a little leeway, hear them out. Because you never know what will. It's not about trying to recapture the past. It's about trying to start a better present and a better future. You can't get back to all if we're only gonna focus on all the times they weren't there, but they could be here now. And you may not need them to be the parent wiping your snotty nose, cleaning your butt. But you could have a parent in the now as an adult. And I think that's worth trying. But if it's not worth trying for you, then don't do it. I mean, I don't know why I said that real loud, but don't do it. And we're going to take one more break, and we're going to talk about the important thing about family is not just the people you're born with. It can also be the people you choose. We'll be right back with more of Let Me Tell You Something. All right, so let's talk about Chosen Family. One of the best examples of Chosen Family was a show that was gone too soon, Pose on FX, which talked about the black and brown underground LGBTQ plus ballroom scene. And it had, house mothers and house fathers and drag and ballroom and trans women and just queer culture. It was really such a great show. And we need shows like that. And one of the things that I learned about, besides learning about the community, but was about the importance of chosen family. These were people who were forced away from their actual families for various reasons. And they found solace and peace and comfort in people who came from similar backgrounds like them. And they created bonds. It was so, you don't have to birth a child to be a mother, to be a father. You can have nieces, nephews, uncles, aunties. It doesn't matter what your dynamic is by blood. What matters is what's in your heart. And it takes nothing to love somebody. And so one of the beautiful things about Pose was we had a woman, the lead character Blanca, take in her children, her house children, take in her community and really show the importance of chosen family, your friends, your neighbors. It is a beautiful thing to have people that you can rely on. And I know we live in a culture of I don't need nobody. I don't need to rely on nobody. I did all this by myself. You do need people. Reach out to people. Family will let you down and family will disappoint you. But the great thing is you can't choose your blood family, but you can choose your chosen family. And there are people who may not have strong blood ties to people, but they have people in their church, if you're religious, people at their work, people in their community that they can lean on. And how beautiful is that to know that where your blood family failed, your chosen family picked up the slack and stood in the paint for you. I have so many people in my life that are not my family by blood, but they are family by my heart. And I love them with all my heart. And they are there for me, and I am there for them. And the one thing about family and about human connection in general is hearing each other. is listening to each other. Sometimes people are going to disappoint you, and sometimes people are not going to show up for you the way that you want them to, whether it be your mama, your daddy, your grandma, your granny. Now, I will say to the old heads, some of y'all need to learn that just because you are old doesn't mean you are owed respect. To get respect is to give respect. You cannot live a life rooted in disrespect and expect people to be respectful for you just because you are old. Just because you had the blessing of being on this earth for a longer period of time than me does not mean that I have to respect you. Respect is given. If you want me to respect you, then give me something to respect. And when I'm talking to my parents, respect your children, listen to your children. Children, listen to your parents. Have a dialogue. And if you ain't talking about nothing, I don't have to listen because I'm grown. Now, for the other people who are underage, I get it. You think your parents don't know nothing, but sometimes your parents do. When your parents tell you they ain't your friends, they probably not. When your parents tell you, oh, you shouldn't go that way, you probably shouldn't. And it don't really hit you until you get older that the things that your parents were trying to shield you from, the things that your parents were trying to tell you about, actually was laying the foundation for you to live a safer life. Because people are crazy and the world is the wild, wild west. So listen to your parents. But also, parents, listen to your children. And I know this episode kind of has been all over the place. I know I got a little in my feels right there. But I believe that family is a gift. And not everyone has that blood gift of family in the way that they want. But we have an obligation and a blessing and an opportunity to be each other's family. And over here at the Let Me Tell You Something Family, I want to be a family member, a village member, a community member that is here to listen, that is here to guide, that is here to educate, that is here to learn, that is here to grow, that is here to foster bonds that will help us transcend the noise and the dark times that we're in so we can find environments of peace, love, community, and just all that good stuff that we need because it's scary times. But we're going to get through this. So, yeah, that's all I got because today been a day. And, yeah, so hopefully you got something out of this. I know I did. So I will see y'all next time with hopefully a surprise. By the way, I did just say about surprise. And if it falls through, it just do. But hopefully it don't. Okay, bye. See you next time.